Have you met America's house guests? Let me introduce you. This is Victor Manuel Gomez Acosta from Mexico. He stabbed his wife and 2 children in Wisconsin. The children didn't make it. Raymond Arnaldo Chavez Rodriguez, visiting from Honduras. He was driving drunk in St. Louis and killed a police officer who was at the side of the road responding to the scene of an accident. This is Freddie Antonio Amaya Marin. He was arrested for shooting at passing cars in Philadelphia. He's visiting from El Salvador. This is Diego Rodriguez Salvador. He's visiting from Honduras. He was in New Orleans where he raped and kidnapped a 13-year-old girl. This is Dimas Gabriel Yanez. He's visiting from Honduras also. He was in Indiana where he stabbed a 14-year-old girl while she was watching her brother's baseball game. Let me introduce you to Akeem Mark Desiree, who's visiting from Haiti. He was in Massachusetts where he molested a 10-year-old boy. Oh, and this guy visiting from Venezuela, his name is Hernandez. He and 3 of his buddies tied up a Texas woman, pistol whipped her, held a gun to her head, threatened to cut off her fingers while they robbed her house. He was visiting from Venezuela. For the bargain basement price of only $90,000 a year, you too can send your child to Boston University and have their brains turned to mush. Today, the university is celebrating International Pronouns Day, and they're having a special fair. Of course, they're doing it right in front of the university chapel. The invitation reads, has a colleague or friend recently changed their pronouns? Are you looking to better understand why pronouns are important? Are you just looking for some great pronoun pins? Honoring a person's pronouns and sharing your own can make a huge difference in how much one of your friends or colleagues feels like they belong. We encourage everyone to stop by our table on Marsh Plaza, where we will have pronoun pins, educational information, and strategies on getting pronouns right. Strategies. Yeah, people who change what you need to call them, like more than the weather changes. Yeah, you're going to use some strategies for that. Yeah. You can't fight crazy. $90,000 a year for that. Real women don't talk like this.
Always going to be misgendered.
Mm-hmm.
But it sure does pay off when I'm in the women's locker room, taking my shower, and open up the shower door, and it's just tits and ass just hanging around, nothing on. Like, yes! Your turn!
Well, like I said, I'm not scared to go into the women's locker room. I've been in them twice now. Oh, actually 3 times.
But you can't be drooling and just staring. Nobody does any staring. It's like...
Don't be drooling, fellas. Those are the rules. See, I used to be really nice about this. Like back a long time ago, it was a little weird, but like if a dude in a dress wanted to be called Sheila and referred to as she, I'd be like, whatever, it's no harm. I'm just going to do this and be polite and not rock the boat. Nope, not anymore. You've all gone too far. Now you want to pretend that you're actual women. You want to come in our bathrooms and look at all the and ass running around. Yeah, no thanks. You're not having it. Not having it. We're not having it. You're not allowed. Stay out. We are pushing back. Go back to the creepy little dark corner from which you came. Sorry. Had it. I am no fan of John Carrey. He's flying around in private jets for his climate conferences while telling us we got to drink out of paper straws. Up yours, Carrey. But I'm going to defend him on one thing. His house that he lives in with his wife, Teresa Hines, the ketchup queen. Yeah. They are in Boston, in Beacon Hill, Lewisburg Square. It's a lovely spot. Very high end. Yeah. The house sits on about 2,100 square foot lot. That's 5% of an acre. Do you know what they pay in property taxes? $200,000 a year. Are you crazy? $200,000 a year just in property taxes? What are you doing with that money, Boston? What are you doing? If I'm paying $200,000 a year in property taxes, I better have round-the-clock private security, and when I turn on my tap, the fountain of youth water better be pouring out of it. The government's out of their minds. A 2% tax is what the American Revolution was started over. And look at where we are now. I don't like John Kerry. Even he shouldn't have to be paying that kind of money, flushing it down the toilet for 5% of an acre. I don't care where it is. Our government is out of control. My Spidey sense is up, telling me they're up to something. All right, so first they had Kamala in hiding, and now they've got her everywhere. On Oprah, on Stern, on Call Her Daddy, on 60 Minutes, you name it. And everywhere she goes, every time her or Walz are in the media, they sink their own campaign. Like, it's just like another nail in the coffin every time either one of them opens their mouths. But you gotta wonder, why are they letting them do this? I can't help but to think there's something really suspicious going on. Because, okay, yeah, it wasn't a good look for her in the basement, but it is way worse having her out there. So either the fix is in and they're so confident of it that they're just putting her out there so that afterwards, after it's fixed, they can say, oh, this message has resonated with the hearts of the American people and they fell in love. Yeah. It ain't happening, okay? Or there's something else that's gonna happen, but my mind isn't sick and twisted, and I don't have dark, evil, genius vibes going on inside my brain. Like, what are they up to? My Spidey sense is up, telling me they're up to something. What do you guys think? I want to hear your theories. Have you met Melvin from Appalachia? He survived Hurricane Helene, and here's what he has to say.
All right, I'm Melvin Anderson. I was born 11/26/61. That makes me 62-year-old. Crippled and disabled. My community and the United States has helped me so much that it's unreal. I have not seen no government down here helping nobody. And I want to thank the American people that has helped us, and bless the people that wanted to help us, that couldn't help us, that said prayers for them. They are very important to me. And God bless America and fuck our government.
God bless America, and what Melvin said. There's something you need to know about Tim Walz, Kamala Harris's running mate. As governor of Minnesota, he put into law that it is a sanctuary state for gender-affirming care. That means that children can run away to Minnesota and the state will ensure that they get all of the sex change stuff that they want, from puberty blockers to, sex change hormones to the mental mind-bending stuff, right up to surgery. And you as a parent can't do a damn thing about it. If you subpoena them and you try to find out where your kid is, every state agency is mandated to block you from information about your child's whereabouts, their general well-being, what's going on with their medical care. This is state-sanctioned kidnapping is what it is. On top of it, any health professional that does this to your kid is completely immune from legal liability or professional sanctions. So they can just run willy-nilly and make as much money as they want, kidnapping children and cutting off their body parts. It's all good. And health insurance companies, if they don't comply and pay for all this, they're getting kicked out of Minnesota too. This is who Kamala Harris chose as a running mate. This is what she wants for America. Everybody's talking about the Menendez brothers again. Those boys, 30 some odd years ago, went out, got shotguns, shot their parents to death, and then said that they did it because they were sexually abused by the father for a lot of years. Well, back then and now there's a split. Some people believe them, some people don't. But also, between then and now, a lot of research has been done, and there's a kind of direct correlation between childhood sexual abuse and growing up to become a psychopath. So what happens, something happens with the actual development of your brain cells when you're sexually abused as a child. And not only to mention all the emotional, social stuff, and you're just not able to live as a normal human being. This doesn't happen to everyone who's been sexually abused as a child. It's just a legitimate outcome for some, which kind of, if that's the case with them, gives them kind of an out. Also, though, what it makes me think is, why the hell are we grooming our children in American schools? Why is everything about sex, 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 sex? If you're talking to a child about sex, if you're showing them images of graphic sex, if you're focusing on who you're attracted to in sexuality, do you know what that is? That's called non-contact sexual abuse. And it opens children up to physical contact sexual abuse. So we're just going to raise a bunch of emotionally, socially whacked out kids, some of who are going to grow up to be psychopaths that might not have otherwise been psychopaths because of what we're doing to them in the schools. Just a whole little army of Menendez brothers we're going to create. going to be so good. This Canadian doctor euthanizes human beings for a living.
How many maid deaths have you been involved with?
Over 400.
That sounds like a lot. Is that what you do now? Like, is that the main
I
thing?
still run a contraception and abortion clinic in addition to my maid work.
This lady's a merchant of death, and she sells people on it by saying you get to choose and have control over your ending and how it goes. Look at how delighted she is, and look at how she talks to this disabled woman who's interviewing her.
So, Liz, right now you love life and you want to live. But there's lots of nasty illnesses you might get.
Yeah.
And if you got terminal cancer and you were having to deal with chemotherapy and radiation, wouldn't you be thrilled that if you had the choice to say, I'll go this far and no further?
Yeah, this is just all laughs. Ha ha ha. Yeah, she talks about later, like, if someone has a treatable illness that they can be treated for, but they just don't want to be. And she's like, well, that wouldn't be my choice, but if this is what they want and they want to just be put to sleep forever, who am I to judge? Like, this is her attitude. And she just can't get enough of this.
Do you love your job?
I love my job. You know, I've always loved being a doctor, but, and I delivered over 1,000 babies and I took care of, families. But this is the very best work I've ever done in the last 7 years. And people ask me why. And I think, well, doctors like grateful patients. And nobody is more grateful than my patients now and their families.
This world is sick. Sick. Beyond. I don't know about you guys, but I'm not playing anymore.
We are a system of speed. And pronouns sometimes slow that down, right? Like, the assumption makes things easier. We are, every single time we meet someone, immediately putting some type of judgment on them really quickly so we know how to interact with them.
Yeah, back in the day, you could make a wrong judgment on somebody by accident, but nowadays, people are doing it to themselves. The only misgendering that's going on is you misgendering yourself, young man. So today's International Pronouns Day, which means that schools around the country are going to be celebrating this and pushing this gobbledygook down kids' throats. Somewhere today, there are going to be many children who come home and say, Mommy, I want you to call me Zizier when you're talking about me from now on, or whatever nonsense they get stuck in their heads. The Gay, Lesbian, Straight Education Alliance says this about pronouns. Referring to people by the pronouns they determine for themselves is basic to human dignity. Dignity? You think it's dignified to affirm a delusion, to convince somebody that they can be something that they absolutely, positively cannot be, and in many cases doesn't even actually exist? Like a little kid who thinks they're a furry, or a grown person who thinks they're a baby. We got those running around now too. Shame on everyone who's pushing this on people and convincing them that this is noble and good and dignified, from the government to the politicians to the school teachers to the parents doing this to their own children.
Well, if anything, would you have done something differently than President Biden during the past 4 years?
There is not a thing that comes to mind in terms of, and I've been a part of most of the decisions that have had impact.
Nothing comes to mind. You know what comes to my mind, Kamala? All the people who have been killed or hurt by the illegal aliens that you have let in because you want to change your voter base. Jocelyn Nungray comes to mind, the 12-year-old girl who was kidnapped, raped, and strangled to death in Houston by 2 Venezuelan illegals before they tossed her into a ditch. Scott Miller comes to mind, the father who was killed on the road by an illegal driving a semi-truck, an illegal that you should have never let in. Rachel Morin, the mother of 5 in Maryland who was raped and murdered. She comes to mind. I would have liked these things to change. I would like all of these people to go and live free, productive lives, live the lives they were meant to lead. I would like Laken Riley to have become a nurse, finished her degree in Georgia before she was murdered by an illegal. I would like Travis Wolf, the 12-year-old boy who was killed by an illegal drunk driver, to live his life. That's what comes to my mind when I think what could have been done differently, Kamala. Disgusting. She's disgusting. Did you see this? That was Governor Gretchen Whitmer of Michigan, who was feeding a sex podcaster a Dorito on her knees as if it were the Holy Communion. She's mocking Christianity. Catholics are going ape. So are really all Christians over this. It just, the incredible insult to all of us is just so in your face and so blatant and so constant. It's exhausting. So Whitmer all of a sudden starts getting all this pushback, and she can't take the heat. So she comes out with this statement. Over 25 years in public service, I would never do something to denigrate someone's faith. I've used my platform to stand up for people's rights to hold and practice their personal religious beliefs. Yeah, right. My team has spoken to the Michigan Catholic Conference. What was supposed to be a video about the importance of the CHIPS Act to Michigan jobs has been construed as something it was never intended to be, and I apologize for that. All right. You know what? Take it up with God. He will forgive you. And actually, I'm a Christian. I will also forgive you because that's what I'm commanded to do. The Bible warned us about this again and again. Here's just one example from the first book of Timothy. The Spirit clearly says that in later times, some will abandon the faith and follow deceiving spirits and things taught by demons. Gretchen knows nothing about faith. Nothing. Or she wouldn't have done this. And she's only trying to cover her ass. Demons. While you're busy doing whatever it is you're doing, this is what's going on inside your kids' phones.
Hey there, friends. So I had my really long drive today, and oh my gosh, I wore this diaper for 6 hours, and I maybe might have had an accident or two, but I am feeling really great, and I am not sore or anything, and so I think I am officially back in diapers. So had a really wonderful healing time in New York, and life is good. I'm feeling a lot of love. So lots of love, friends. Love you, man. Bye.
So adults with a diaper fetish is apparently a thing. I mean, call me crazy. Here I am thinking that when you're an adult and you have to put on a diaper, it's because the end is near and it's the most humiliating, undignified thing in the world. And these people are pushing this on children. Let's act like babies. So cute, isn't it? One thing I've noticed about the left is that when you present them with a fact that goes against what they want to believe, not only do they just reject it, they don't even ask questions. They have zero intellectual curiosity. Like, maybe just learn a little bit more. And then if you still disagree. But they won't look into anything. And even if you make it easy and you lay out facts on a silver platter, they won't have anything to do with them. Have you guys seen this out there? I'm sure you have. It's everywhere. I'm curious about their lack of curiosity. Like, what happens in your mind that you just stop wanting to learn new things? I'm good. I know everything now. Just get my pronouns right. That's where we're at.
This was the precise moment I no longer was a Democrat.
Raise your hand if your government plan would provide coverage for undocumented immigrants.
That was the precise moment that I knew I was leaving the Democratic Party. Because I was a 2-time bone cancer survivor. I voted for Obama-Biden based on Obamacare. And when it was implemented in 2010, I ended up losing my insurance. I went from an insurance plan that was $185 a month with a $1,000 deductible to that policy being canceled because it no longer met the requirements of Obamacare. And I was left with the cheapest option being $1,200 a month, $6,000 deductible.
A lot of people like that.
$185 a month, $1,000 deductible.
Yep.
To $1,200 a month, $6,000 deductible.
Yep.
I went 10 years without insurance, and I was penalized each year because I could no longer afford insurance.
Imagine they're making you pay for something you don't even have yourself.
It's something that every parent teaches their child at some point growing up is how we need to be careful and stay away from strangers. And we use a short little 2-word rhyme to communicate that, right? And I think you know it. I'll say the first word, you say the second one. Stranger danger. Stranger danger. And we teach our kids that, right? If you don't know someone, if they're a stranger to you, if you don't recognize them, then you don't go with them. It doesn't matter what they say to you. If you don't know them, you run away from them and you find safety. You know, I think those of us who are grown-up followers of Jesus need to relearn the principle of stranger danger. And if you hear someone speaking and it doesn't sound like Jesus, if you hear someone speaking and it doesn't sound like the Bible, if it doesn't sound like truth, if it doesn't line up with the voice of your good shepherd, then you can know that it's the voice of a stranger, and that voice is not going to lead you closer to God. That voice is going to lead you further away from God. Christian life is not easy, church, but it is simple. All we are told to do is listen for our shepherd's voice and follow it.
It's no secret that our military has been depleted. People aren't signing up to join. Our arsenals are down. Our leadership is woke. So Donald Trump has a plan as part of his Agenda 47 platform to rebuild our military. Here's a few points from it. Reevaluate procurement and our weapons arsenal. Provide record funding for our weapons arsenal and replenish ammunition. Remember when Joe was like, oh, we're out of ammo. Insist we get more for every dollar spent. Stop spending foolishly. Ask Europe to reimburse us for the cost of rebuilding stockpiles sent to Ukraine. Reverse low recruitment. Restore proud culture and honor traditions. I'd love that. I would love that. A lot of us would. Oh, this is my favorite. No Marxist communism allowed in the military. This is America. What are you doing, Joe and Kamala? Let's get this guy in and fix this.